Yo, what's up guys? Rich on Touch Loops here, and today we're going to look at how to make your DAW sound more analog. This for me is all about workflow and mindset. So what I do is, we've had quite a few people speak to me about this and they found it interesting. So the way I like to organize my session is as follows. You can see this is the Krungabin session that we used recently. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a link in the description or click in the top corner. It allowed us to route our session in such a way within Ableton that it stops me from looking at all the small details and starts making bigger decisions in the same way that you would on an analog desk. So what you'll see here are a selection of just normal audio channels in Ableton that I've called Aux. So I've got one for the drums, one for the bass, guitar, FX, synth, and vocals. What happens is I route channels into these. So I've got all my drums, which are these ones in this kind of clay color. As you can see, they're being sent to drum aux, drum aux, drum aux. You get the idea. And then that relates to this. So if I solo this one and press play, as you can see, everything from the drum group is coming in. Same goes for the bass, same goes for the guitars and everything else. I assign these to my MIDI controller as well. So by doing this, it means I can pretend that this is actually the routing for a desk. So to do that, incredibly simple. You choose the channel you want to control, you press Command M, puts it into MIDI mode, click what you want to control, and then you find the channel on your MIDI controller, and now it's assigned. It's worth noting that, as you can see at the top left here, Ableton likes to put it to the maximum possible. I don't want my fader to be going to 6 decibels, so I put 0, click OK, turn MIDI mode off, and I now have control over all of these channels. As you can see, they're going up. What this allows me to do is, it allows me to sit back and pretend I'm using a mixer. I could assign anything to these controls, but it just takes me away from the finer details that sometimes can slow down the production process of constantly going in and tweaking something and moving something. Sometimes all I want to do is lower the drums in relationship to the bass. I want to bring the vocals down. I want to EQ them. I want to do really simple moves that I'd be able to do on a desk really easily, but sometimes in Ableton you just get trapped, and that's not what we want. So if we look at each one of these groups, what I've done is I've created them in such a way that they have exactly the same plugins on them. I want to imagine I'm in a studio. I want to imagine I'm on a desk. So I've got a virtual tape machine. We know what this does. Adds a really nice bit of low end bump, some saturation, some drive, and a tiny bit of compression. It also means I can do some quite nice gain staging by using the input and the output. Next to that, virtual mix rack by Slate. I'm going to pretend that we're creating an SSL desk. So what I've done is I've put this into Brit 4K E mode, which is based on the E series 4000 SSL. It's then also allowing me to control levels again, which is great for the input and output, effect drive, saturation. We then go into an SSL style compressor. We don't have to use that if we don't need it, but sometimes it's nice to just give your group a little bit of a bump just to catch some peaks and tie things in. Lastly, SSL style EQ, really sweet, smooth EQ, great for doing quite broad moves, but it also has quite a nice Q setting here, so that's how wide the band is of our EQ. One of the benefits of working in this way is, as well as getting this kind of glue between channels, if you will, this like mixed cohesion and 3D feel, it also means you start to get really comfortable with using certain plugins. For me, the SSL EQ is just such a go-to because I know my way around it so fast. I can quickly say, I want to brighten up this group, the drum group per se, 16K, a little bit of a boost. I've added 5 dB to the top of all my drums now. I can move on, I can get going, and it's really nice and smooth. So, how do we build this? What we've got at the bottom here is a normal audio channel. It's just how it comes when you create it. As you can see, it looks slightly different to the one above. What we want to do is we want to make sure that we can internally route within Ableton so we can send audio to it. The problem is, as you see at the moment, if we put it into input mode, it's going to be listening to an external signal. And I've plugged in a cable into input 1. As you can see, if I tap it, that's coming from what's plugged into my sound card on input 1. I don't want to hear that. I just want to hear what's happening internally. So what we can do is we can say vocal sample, which is this, if we listen to it. Plus a nice click. Let's route this, instead of going to the master, to vocals. Now if we look down, nothing's happening. So what we need to do, we need to turn this to input mode, so it's now listening. If we go again, we're getting vocals in, but as you can see, we've still got an issue in terms of an external input. So what we can do is we can go there, we can say no input. It'll still hear the vocals, but if I tap away, nothing's coming in externally, which completely solves our problem. You have to do it in this order. Otherwise, if you don't send a signal to it first from within your session, put it to no input, Ableton just thinks it's a dormant channel and it won't allow you to route anything. So that's how you lay it out. Last, to complete the picture, I've got my master chain. So as you can see, EQ, just rolling things off. Tape machine, again, is part of this virtual world. It's going to saturate, it's going to drive. It also gives us nice control with the gain, which is what we're looking for. SSL style compressor, doing exactly what we want. Again, it's based on the old desks, and that's just what we're looking for. Then we go into the mix rack. Here is Slate's mix bus, which is very similar to the channels, but it's been programmed in a slightly different way to accept multiple signals. So this is going to be the one that sticks everything together, if you will. Then we're going into an EQ at the end. An analog EQ is part of that analog chain, and then limiter at the end. So there you have it. Might work for you, might not be what you're looking for. I'll include this session as a free download so you can copy it and route your sessions in the same way if that's what you want to do. But for me, it's all about mindset. It's all about making quick moves and being able to balance things without getting stuck in the finer details of your session.